you said you grew up in the Gaylord First United Methodist Church. Tell me, what was your experience there, especially as a young child?
Yeah, I recall it being a very loving environment for families. And so I was involved in the Sunday school program, Vacation Bible School. And I just remember that being a very positive experience of having great teachers sowing into our lives, other children, other families, and yeah, just that environment of being welcoming to families and sowing into them.
Welcome, everyone, to our 61st podcast, Renew Your Mind. With us today, we have Senior Pastor Paul Gruenberg, and we have our brand new Director of Family and Youth, Jeremy Touroo. And we have myself, Dana Hall, as the moderator. Today, our topic is going to be about getting to know Jeremy a little bit more. I think he has been with us for 2 Sundays, and so we know a little bit about him, but we want to know just a little bit more. So we've got a series of questions that we want to ask him.
Oh, let's grill him.
All right, so I think we'll just start with growing up, Jeremy. I think, tell us a little bit about where you grew up. Was it within the community? Just tell us a little bit about growing up in, I believe, in Gaylord.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. That's right. I was born in Gaylord and grew up here. I went through the public school system here and have a wonderful family I'm very grateful for. My mom and dad and an older brother and a younger sister. And so we were involved in the community quite a bit with sports and activities. And in fact, Gaylord First United Methodist Church was our home church as well. Mm-hmm. So I've attended our church since being a small child. And we're grateful for the Gaylord community. It's a great place to grow up and to raise a family. So
great. I did not know you were the middle child. So
yes,
right?
That's right. Middle child.
Able to communicate well with the first and the last. And very good.
Hopefully they didn't beat up on you too much.
My younger sister didn't. My older brother had his moments. But no, we're good friends. We
that's
got along well. So.
All right. So how about take us through maybe after high school? What sports did you play? You said you were sports minded. So what hobbies did you like?
Yes. Yeah. So I played hockey, baseball, and soccer growing up. And through high school, I played hockey. I played soccer 1 year, and then I played baseball throughout high school as well. So hockey's probably my top sport. But
okay.
And graduated from Gaylord High School 2001, and then went to Michigan State University for my bachelor's degree, which is in electrical engineering. So I was at Michigan State for 4.5 years. And then from there, I went to graduate school at the Milwaukee School of Engineering in Wisconsin and became a little more specialized in the medical field through that program.
And that's specialized in medical equipment?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, medical devices, medical technology from an engineering standpoint. So research and development and new technology innovation.
Okay. Wow. That's really neat. I did not know you were a Spartan. So
yes,
that's awesome.
That's
so
correct.
You must have been happy about yesterday's game.
Very happy.
Yeah. They
Not
have
upset
started
at all.
off well.
They've had a great start.
Saturday.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. A good start for Sparty. So
that's awesome. Okay. Well, that's great. So electrical engineer, that I didn't know. I knew about your more of the medical side of it, but wow, that's a tough program as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. I learned a lot, of course, and enjoyed it, but it took some dedication for sure. A lot of work. Yeah,
all right.
So. I'm wondering, you said you grew up in the Gaylord United Methodist, First United Methodist Church. Tell me, what was your experience there, especially as a young child? What do you recall? A significant moment or moments?
Yeah, I recall it being a very loving environment for families. And so I was involved in the Sunday school program, Vacation Bible School. And I just remember that being a very positive experience of having great teachers sowing into our lives, other children, other families. And yeah, just that environment of being welcoming to families and sowing into them.
Yeah, that's, I'm just curious, who was the pastor when you were a young child?
Reverend Warren Pettis.
Pettis, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was a young child, yeah.
Okay. And then as you grew up in the church, youth, any type of early adult experiences, probably youth because you went on to college.
Yes. So I did confirmation through the church here and stayed with the church through the high school years. I don't recall being a part of a youth group here necessarily, but in keeping with, my peers my age who were involved with the church. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're married. And maybe I'm skipping ahead too far, but how did you meet your wife? And was it during your college years or?
Yes. So I met Amy shortly after I graduated from graduate school in Milwaukee. So that was 2008.
Okay.
And I had moved back to Gaylord as I was looking for my first job out of school.
Sure.
And I met Amy in Gaylord. She was working at her family's restaurant here. And we kind of hit it off immediately. And it did not take long for us to realize that God had brought us together. And she really is a huge answered prayer in my life. And I tell her that frequently. She's one of the biggest examples of just a directly answered prayer from God. As I was just praying that he would bring me a woman who knows him, a godly woman to be my wife. So
yeah, that's
he
great.
Answered that prayer.
Okay.
I'm very grateful.
All right. And then, so you met her in 2008.
Yes.
And then when did you two get married?
2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that
No
was
time
an
there.
answer.
No,
yeah.
no.
Don't mess around.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had known each other 9 months and we were married. So it just was a feeling of, we knew it was right. We knew it was from God.
Yeah.
So
Had she been praying for a Christian man?
I think so. I think she would say that. So
We hope so, right?
Yes.
Well, we'll have
Yes.
Amy on next podcast and see if that's true.
Well, yeah. We'll have to run that past her. But
Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. That's great. So for some reason I thought maybe you dated in high school, but yeah, that makes more sense. And then how long were you married before you had kids? Did you stay in Gaylord?
Yeah, actually my first job out of graduate school was down in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And so I moved down there shortly after I met Amy, and she stayed up here with her family until we got married in 2009. Then she moved down with me.
Okay.
And we spent 6 years down there together, just her and I, as I worked, and she worked part-time as well. And that was a time where, we love our families. We're really close with our families, both of us. So it was a hard time in being, having that distance between us. And yet I know God used it as a very important time to build our marriage.
Right.
Because we really had each other there.
Sure.
And we, having been married just after 9 months, we still had a lot of, getting to know each other and really establishing that bond. There's always things you figure out, isn't there, Pastor?
That's right. I just did a wedding this past weekend, and more and more people are living together prior to marriage.
Yeah.
And so they think getting married is just getting the last names right or the same or getting legalized. And there's a conversation that goes on regarding commitment. And when you don't live together, you don't have those first few months, first few years of figuring out each other. How do we communicate best? Who doesn't pick up their clothes? Who doesn't, do this or that? Or who does like it cleaner than the other person? All of those little things you have to work on. And to be away from family, that makes it a little bit more, let's say, interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. And I won't go through the list of do's and don'ts. But yeah, it's so true. So God really used that as a time to really establish a strong bond between us. And we look back and see that very much.
Yeah. Did you live in the same place while you lived in Kentucky?
We lived in an apartment to start, I think our first year maybe, and then we bought our first house down there.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We did, yes.
All right. And was it in Louisville or outside of? It was right in Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then did you get to know your community, or did you have a church that was it tough to find a church down there?
We went to a couple of different churches and were involved with one for a bit, and then we tried a different one that a neighbor of ours invited us to. And I wouldn't say we ever found that home for us there, although it was a real time of spiritual growth for us, again, being on our own, newly married.
The parents aren't around, the siblings aren't around to encourage you.
Exactly, yeah. So we grew spiritually very much in that time, looking back.
Well, so tell me a little bit more about that spiritual aspect of your growth as individuals and as a couple.
Yeah, so when you're away from your family unit, your parents, and kind of your comfort zone, I think, there's a dimension where you need to rely on God more because you're out of your comfort zone. And that's where God takes us sometimes to stretch our faith and to have us experience new things in our lives and to have us realize, wow, we must rely on God for this. And what is God doing here? How's God using us? How is he growing us? And so we had each other and God, and it was formative for us. We're grateful for those years.
Does any particular challenge come to mind, during those 6 years that you really...
I think the whole 6 years, it was hard for us to be away from our family.
Okay.
That was probably the biggest challenge, I can say. Yeah.
So at the end of those 6 years, did you purposely start looking for a job and a home back in Gaylord or back in Michigan?
Yes, we started feeling the calling on our hearts to, begin looking for a path, perhaps back to Michigan or closer to family. Probably a year or so before we actually did move. And so I began looking for some new career opportunities. Sure. And this is a great example of how God can answer our prayers above and beyond what we're actually asking for, beyond what we hope or imagine. We were praying that God would land us back in Michigan so we could be close to family. With my work, we figured it would probably be maybe Grand Rapids, Detroit, maybe one of the bigger city areas. We never thought we'd land back in Gaylord, which is where our families actually are. But, by God's grace and great love for us, that's where he brought us. And that's an example where we were praying for one thing and God actually answered it even higher.
Better, yeah.
Sure.
And we thought, why didn't we just pray for that? But he showed us again that he does immeasurably more than what we can hope or ask.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, two of the things as you're talking, one of the aspects of gathering together spiritually or going to church together is family. So if you stay in the area, then you're going to continue to go to church with your family, right? Your parents are going to be there, and Amy would be there. I'm not sure where Amy's parents go.
Amy's parents do more of a home church here in the community.
Okay. So spiritually minded, and there's that social dimension to church that keeps drawing people in. Oh, you know what? My friends are going to be there this Sunday. I better get out of bed, or, those types of things. It's that norm that you grow up, routine that you continue to be a part of, even though you're now married and living in a separate place. But when you go down to Louisville, all of a sudden it has to be a choice to go, because you're not going because mom and dad are going to be there, or my siblings are going to be there. It has to be something deeper than just a social norm that you're going to attend. So with that, you said you attended 2 different churches. Any particular reason for the switch in churches?
They were both very different. And I think we were just looking for that, what could be our church family or a home church for us. One of them, both were more on the non-denominational evangelical side. And one was a smaller church experience. We actually went on Saturday evenings. And so it was a smaller congregation. And that was good. We enjoyed that. It was fruitful, but I don't know that we ever quite felt like that's where God wanted us. And the other one was a very large church, probably a mega church, you could say. And we've never experienced that either. And there was some good to that as well, but also maybe not quite for us. And so we kept seeking, but then the Lord landed us back here. So,
and that prayer time about, well, Lord, can you get us back up into Michigan, knowing that a bulk of opportunities lay in southern Michigan. Ohio would have been good too. Ohio State, Anyway, but getting back up, but answers come over time. And sometimes we rush at the first sign of an answer or what we think is an answer instead of allowing God to continue to work through the long haul to get us to that place where God says, hey, I want to answer that prayer.
Right.
Can you wait?
Yeah. In fact, that brings up a perfect example. Probably a year or so before we moved, I had a job interview in Plymouth, in Detroit area, and it went pretty far. I thought they were going to offer me the job. They ended up, I think I was down to 2 people, and they did not offer me the job. So there was some disappointment there, obviously. But looking back, God was waiting to answer the prayer even beyond that situation. So that's where, as you said, Pastor Paul, it takes time. We have to wait upon the Lord and be patient. Not always easy, but his answer's coming.
Right. So, because generally we want our answers now.
We do, especially in our kind of society, our busy culture. We all want immediate answers.
Right.
We can look things up immediately on the internet.
Right.
What does that mean? Boom, there it is. But God has a way of, he's a God of process, and he has a way of having us be patient and wait upon him and his timing. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a remarkable story, because I remember when I moved to Gaylord, my husband and I were married, and I had a different approach. I just cold called everybody. And, I did find a job just by the cold call, letters, but, I didn't have that waiting. That never even entered my mind that I had to wait to find a job. So I give you a lot of credit for that, because I guess I wanted my answer right away. So, but it still worked.
And here we are now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think the next question I want to ask, and we don't have to talk all the way through it, but just I'd like to talk about, I know you have children, and just wanted to find out a little bit more about, questions about your kids and how that came about. And then after that, we've got a few other questions. So why don't you just end it? We'll end this podcast with telling us a little mechanics of how many kids you have. And I'll leave it at that right now.
Sure. We are blessed with 3 children who we love dearly. Our oldest is Benjamin. He's 5 years old.
Okay.
Our middle child is Asher. He's 4 years old. And we have a pretty new addition, our baby daughter, Kaylee, who was born on May 30th of this year.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So brand new baby.
Brand new, yes.
All right. So why don't we'll end that as kind of a teaser. We'll hear more about the kids, how they entered your life. And I guess anything else you want to add before we end this podcast?
Just thank you for having me. Grateful to be here.
Okay.
And thankful to be a part of the church family.
All
yes,
right.
He says thank you now for the podcast.
We can always edit that out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll end on that note. So thanks everybody for listening. We are at the First United Methodist Church. We're located at 215 South Center in Gaylord, Michigan. We have a traditional service at 9 a.m. and we have a contemporary service at 10:45 a.m. You're welcome to join us in person, or you can watch us on Facebook or YouTube. And if you need to contact us with any questions, we're at 989-732-5380. And we have a website as well under First United Methodist Church, and we have tons of information there as well. So thank you everyone for listening.